YouTube, search for the truth, coming right back at you guys. Oh, back up in this bitch, man. What a terrible intro. I really need to quit using so much profanity. I must have been a sailor in my past life. Oh man. Where do I even begin? There's just been so many overwhelming topics I need to discuss. That RV dealership, probably one of my last videos I did. Let me roll up the window. That dealership's gone. There's been a lot more warehouses being built, a lot more commercial retail businesses leave. New retail buildings are being built and sitting vacant. I left a comment over at Michael Anderson's channel about how I noticed as well all the homeless people being given American flags out here. And it was actually my idea to start that LGBTQIABC flag giveaway that Mr. Anderson took credit for. But it's all good, brother. You can have that idea. I got plenty of others. But anyways, the main topic of today, I just want to get into the casualization of this society. And what I'm noticing, I'm sure I've already touched on it a little bit. And this is the casualization of society, casualization of luxury, etc. With everybody just watching, keeping up with the Kardashians and all that, it's only natural to aspire to that. But the people in the specifically my generation, millennials, are just like the most delusional generation, it seems. Most of our boomer parents were, they grew up with, just at literally the best time, the most prosperous time in American history. They have the most amount of money saved. They have, 401k. They have, retirement money. They have pensions, Social Security to rely on, which, my generation won't be able to rely on any of that. So, it's so interesting to me that being said, sorry, driving a different car here. That being said, you would think my generation would take heed and be a little bit more frugal, but no. At least out here in California, it seems like everybody making $15 an hour is driving a 5 or 10-year-old BMW. And I was always told, if you can't afford a new BMW, you can't afford an old one. and being in the automotive industry, that's pretty true. So, it's just the casualization of luxury. Everybody's got a Louis Vuitton belt. Everybody wears Gucci. Everybody, has a luxury car. And that brings me back. Mercedes in particular, right, a luxury brand. They used to be. A couple years back, they introduced the CLA line, which is essentially a budget Mercedes. Is that just not the biggest? Sorry, the word's slipping my mind right now. It's ironic, Mercedes introducing a baseline sedan that starts at like $25,000. That doesn't even make sense to me. No Mercedes should be under like $60,000. You know what I mean? There once was a time where, people drove, regular cars and you can aspire to that BMW or Mercedes. But now that's like the norm. You know what I mean? So you're driving, it's essentially a Ford Fusion with a Mercedes badge on it, because trust me, I work on these cars. They're complete junk. The CLA series of Mercedes are junk. The 250s, I forget the other ones too. There's a little SUV, but they're just complete trash. And then you've got Toyota reintroducing the Supra. I was excited when I heard that news until it was released that it was actually a partnership with BMW. So now you have Toyota teaming up with BMW to produce a Supra. the engine and electrical components are all BMW. The chassis, wheels, and trim. Actually, no, a lot of the trim is actually BMW parts. I'm sorry, but it's about 50-50. So it's like, me personally, as a self-employed businessman driving two crappy ass cars right now, I aspire. You know what I mean? I would drive the Toyota right now, or the Ford, or this Hyundai like I'm driving, because I aspire to one day get into a E, or S-Class Mercedes. But what is there to aspire to when everybody working at McDonald's is driving the same car with the same badge? And that brings me to parcel delivery. My father, God bless his soul, rest in peace. He died of pancreatic cancer when I was just turned 13 years old. I was practically a 12-year-old little boy. And I'm sure most of you know I've been struggling ever since that. But my father was a UPS man. He was a very respectable UPS man. He went over this when everybody else was striking back in the late 90s, early 2000s at UPS. My father continued to work and was even being harassed by his fellow employees. He had to carry a gun with him for self-protection. The other employees were putting dog shit and making family threats about my life, etc. My father was a stand-up UPS employee. So I don't understand why the fuck I couldn't even get an opportunity at a career there after applying nearly 17 to 25 times with 4 or 5 interviews. But whatever. I have no criminal record. I don't use drugs. I'm a very reliable, dependable, honest. I pride myself on an impeccable attention to detail, which that's probably why I'm able to be self-employed. But what I'm seeing with companies like UPS that I used to aspire to work for, I'm seeing overweight minorities replace the job. Because when my dad was working there, it was mostly Caucasian males and actually African American men, black men and white men is predominantly what used to work at UPS. Now I see tons and tons of overweight Hispanics. I see some Middle Easterners. I don't see any white people. I hardly see any black guys. Everybody's out of shape. Everybody's got facial hair, which wasn't allowed. Everybody's wearing dirty uniforms, tattered. The trucks are dented, scraped, messed up, which was never tolerated when my father worked there. I see guys walking around without their shirts tucked in. Just deplorable looking work trucks. Same with FedEx. But you know what? You reap what you sow. You got Amazon. DHL really isn't too much of a competition for them anymore. I know them. You've got sorry, lost my train of thought seeing my neighbor. Essentially, you've got all these other newer shipping. Okay, like perfect example, like Amazon Prime. You've got people driving their own cars, not even needing uniforms. They're gonna believe me. They're gonna be undercutting UPS and FedEx here very shortly. Very shortly. Postal Service really hasn't changed too much. It's always been the same kind of people working there. It's a federal business. What do you expect? It's going to be shit. But me personally, I can say I've seen the decline in UPS and FedEx parcel delivery. And what I'm seeing is I'm seeing more. Like, okay, why does UPS need to pay a parcel delivery driver $50,000 to $75,000 a year when Amazon and everybody else is undercutting them and paying their employees $12 an hour and not supplying a vehicle and using them like literally slaves? I doubt these people are getting the opportunity for advancement and 401k options, etc., like UPS offers. UPS used to be a really great company to work for. I don't know if that's the case anymore, because I tried so many times, and even name dropping, and I still couldn't get in there. So I think it's just because I'm a white man. I'm looked at as a liability here in Southern California. And that goes with being self-employed too. Whenever I show up to these places, you know, they're looking at me as a liability, like, you know, my prices are going to be so high and then I'm not going to work as hard, etc. Which is quite the contrary. But, God, excuse me, I got so much phlegm in my throat. I think I'm getting sick. Last thing I need as a self-employed person. But I'm seeing the casualization of this society. And it's just troubling. It's like, you know, what incentive is there? I mean, for me, I you know, I want a Porsche. You know what I mean? My not my dream car, but one of my goals is to drive a Carrera or a 911, maybe even a GT4. I love those cars. I aspire to get, you know, a nice Chevy work truck here soon. You know, I have goals, but it's just like, what's the point of even, like, these brands? There's no incentive to even want luxury anymore, because look at Hyundai has the Genesis, the Kia Optimas, Kia has the Stinger now, and that's essentially a luxury vehicle. So you've got like the lower end brands making luxury cars, and you've got the higher end brands making budget cars. Just like, again, Nike. Nike back in the day used to be a luxury footwear sports brand. You know, Nike to me should not have a shoe that's under $75. You know what I mean? My Nike Air Max costs, you know, upwards of almost $200 for that technology. So why the fuck can I go into Kohl's and get a $20 pair of Nikes with, you know, to the unwashed masses with the same check on the side? It looks like the same pair of shoes that I spent $200 on. So it's like the casualization of luxury. Everything is just being mass produced at a shit value, cheap prices, but, you know, you get what you pay for. So I guess that's all I really want to talk about on this video. I got to go in and face the better half. You guys have a great rest of the day. Great catching up to you. Search for the truth. Howdy.